Imagine waking up in the morning with a strange uneasiness in your chest. The world around you seems unchanged, yet something feels off. You try to ignore it, focusing on your tasks, your responsibilities, the endless list of things to do. But deep inside, a restless voice whispers, an uncertainty, a fear, a pressure that you cannot quite define. Why do you feel this way? Why is anxiety such a constant presence in your life? You might blame it on stress, on circumstances, on things beyond your control. But what if anxiety is not merely a reaction to external problems? What if it is something much deeper, something tied to your very existence? Today we are going to explore a perspective that might challenge everything you think you know about anxiety. A perspective that does not see it as a flaw, but as a fundamental part of being human. We will explore Jean-Paul Sartre's view on anxiety, not as an enemy to be eradicated, but as a sign of something profoundly important. And as we reach the end of this journey, we will uncover the most powerful realization of all, one that has the potential to completely transform the way you live. Sartre, one of the most influential existentialist thinkers, believed that anxiety arises from an inescapable truth. We are free, but not just free in the way people usually think about freedom. We are radically, terrifyingly free. Unlike other creatures, we are not bound by instinct alone. We are aware of ourselves, our choices, and the weight they carry. And this awareness creates an immense burden. Most of the time, we do not fully realize how much control we have over our own lives. But think about it. Right now, in this very moment, you could decide to change everything. You could quit your job, move to another country, start a completely different life. Nothing is truly stopping you except yourself. And yet this realization does not bring relief. Instead, it brings fear. Sartre called this feeling existential anxiety. It is the uneasiness that comes from knowing that there is no fixed path, no predetermined purpose, no external force dictating your every move. You are the one responsible for defining your life, and that responsibility is overwhelming. Have you ever stood at a great height and felt an odd sensation? Not just the fear of falling, but the realization that you could jump if you chose to. That vertigo, that strange sense of possibility, is the essence of existential anxiety. It is not just fear of danger, it is the awareness of absolute freedom and the weight that comes with it. And so, to escape this anxiety, people cling to external structures. They follow societal expectations, traditions, rules, anything that provides a sense of order, a feeling that life has a set direction. But deep down, they know the truth. Even when following these scripts, they are still making a choice to follow them, and that choice is theirs alone. This is why anxiety never fully disappears. No matter how much structure you impose on your life, no matter how many plans you make, the uncertainty remains, because at any moment, you could choose differently. Now consider your own life. How often do you hesitate, afraid to make a decision because you are terrified of making the wrong one? How often do you feel paralyzed by the fear of regret? But here is the truth. There is no correct path waiting for you to find it. There is only the path you create. Most people spend their lives searching for meaning, hoping to discover some grand, universal purpose that will give their existence a sense of direction. But what if meaning is not something you find? What if meaning is something you create? Sartre argued that life has no inherent meaning until you give it one. There is no external force dictating your destiny, no ultimate plan, no predefined purpose. And while this might seem like a terrifying thought at first, it is also incredibly liberating, because it means that you have the power to shape your own reality. Anxiety, then, is not just something to be feared. It is a sign that you are awake to your own existence. It is a reminder that you are not a passive observer in life. You are the creator of your own path. And here is where the real question arises. If anxiety is a natural part of freedom, how can we learn to embrace it instead of fearing it? Could it be that the very thing we see as a weakness is actually the key to a more authentic, more meaningful life? As we continue this journey, we will dive even deeper into these questions, uncovering how Sartre's ideas can help us not only understand anxiety, but use it as a tool for transformation. And most importantly, we will reveal a final truth, one that has the power to change the way you see yourself and the world forever. Because the most important realization of all is still ahead. Anxiety is often seen as something negative, something to be eliminated, a sign that something is wrong with us. But what if that is not true? What if anxiety is not a flaw but a message, a signal that we are standing at the edge of something important, something deeply tied to our existence? Jean-Paul Sartre argued that anxiety is not a disorder to be cured, but a fundamental part of what it means to be human. It is not an obstacle, it is a teacher. It reveals the truth about our condition, the weight of our freedom, and the responsibility that comes with it. But most people do not want to face this truth. Instead, they seek distractions. They keep themselves busy, fill their lives with routines, entertainment, endless tasks, anything to avoid sitting alone with their thoughts, anything to escape the silence where anxiety might rise. Think about it. How often do you reach for your phone, turn on the television, or keep yourself occupied just to avoid that uncomfortable feeling? How often do you run from the very thing that might hold the key to your growth? Sartre believed that most people live in what he called bad faith. This means that instead of embracing our freedom, we lie to ourselves. We pretend that we have no choice, that we are bound by circumstances, that we are trapped in roles imposed by society. We tell ourselves that we have to do things, that we are stuck in our situation, that life is simply happening to us. But that is not true. It is never true. Every moment of your life, you're making a choice. Even when you do nothing, that is a choice. Even when you follow the expectations of others, that is a choice. There is no escape from this responsibility. The only question is whether you will accept it or continue to deny it. And this denial is what makes anxiety unbearable. Because deep down, your mind knows the truth. It knows that you are avoiding something important. It knows that you are running from your own freedom. Sartre gave an example of a waiter in a cafe. This waiter performs his job in a mechanical way, moving, speaking, and acting exactly as one would expect from a waiter. But he is not truly being himself. He is playing a role. He has convinced himself that he is nothing more than his job, that his identity is fixed. But this is an illusion. He is not just a waiter. He is a human being capable of being anything. The moment he realizes this, anxiety will strike, because suddenly he will see that he has a choice. He could quit, he could change, he could become something entirely different. And that realization is terrifying. Now look at your own life. How much of what you do is truly your choice? How much of it is just a role you have accepted, a script you are following? Are you living authentically, or are you living in bad faith? The reason this question is so uncomfortable is because the answer forces us to face our deepest fear, the fear that we are responsible for our own lives. It is easier to blame society, to blame circumstances, to say that we have no choice. But that is an illusion. The truth is that we are always choosing. And this is why anxiety is so powerful. It is not a weakness, it is a sign that something within you is waking up. It is a reminder that you are not just a passive observer in life. You are the creator of your own existence. But here is where many people struggle. If anxiety is a part of freedom, does that mean we are doomed to feel this way forever? Is there no escape from this weight? Sartre believed that there is a way forward, but it is not about eliminating anxiety. It is about transforming it. Instead of seeing anxiety as something to be feared, we can learn to see it as a guide. Because hidden within anxiety is an incredible opportunity, the opportunity to take full ownership of our lives. When we stop running, when we stop distracting ourselves, when we face our anxiety head-on, something changes. We stop feeling like victims of our circumstances. We stop waiting for permission to live the life we truly want. We realize that we do not need permission. We never did. Because the truth is, you are free. You always have been. The only question is, what will you do with that freedom? As we continue, we will explore how to move beyond fear and start embracing the power of our choices. And in the final moments, we will reveal the most important truth of all, one that has the power to change everything. Because the real revelation is still ahead. Anxiety is not the enemy. It is not a flaw, not a mistake in your design. It is a signal, a message, a whisper from the depths of your own being. And yet, most people spend their lives trying to silence it, pushing it away, distracting themselves from its presence. But what if, instead of resisting it, we learn to listen? Jean-Paul Sartre believed that anxiety is a direct consequence of human freedom. But this freedom is not the kind we usually imagine. It is not the shallow, simplistic idea of doing whatever we want without consequences. It is something much deeper, much more unsettling, Most people do not feel free, they feel trapped by their responsibilities, by their past, by their fears. But Sartre argued that this feeling of being trapped is an illusion. In reality, we are free at every moment. We just do not want to accept what that means. Because to be truly free means that there is no external force dictating our destiny. There is no higher power assigning meaning to our lives. There is no predefined script to follow. We alone are responsible for defining who we are, for choosing our own path, and this is terrifying. This is why people cling to roles, identities, and expectations. They convince themselves that they have no choice, that they must follow a certain path, that their options are limited. They say things like, "I have to do this," or "I cannot change," because believing otherwise would mean facing the full weight of their freedom. But deep down, we know the truth. And that truth is what creates anxiety. Sartre called this awareness nausea, the deep unsettling realization that nothing is fixed, that everything is open, that we are always in a state of becoming. There is no solid ground beneath us. There are no absolute rules. There is only choice and the responsibility that comes with it. And so, we try to escape. We build routines, habits, identities. We surround ourselves with distractions. We convince ourselves that we are powerless, because it is easier to feel powerless than to accept full responsibility for our lives. But no matter how much we try to suppress it, anxiety always finds a way to return. It appears in the quiet moments, in the gaps between distractions, in the silence of the night. It whispers to us, reminding us that we are not living fully, that we are holding ourselves back, that we are pretending to be less than what we truly are. But here is the question. What if anxiety is not something to fear, but something to embrace? What if, instead of seeing it as a curse, we saw it as a call to action? Because anxiety is not just a sign of fear, it is a sign of possibility. It arises when we are standing on the edge of something important, when we are about to step into the unknown, when we are confronted with the truth that we are capable of more. The greatest moments of transformation in life always come with anxiety. The first time you step onto a stage, the moment before making a life-changing decision, the uncertainty of a new beginning. Every time you face something that truly matters, anxiety will be there. And this is where Sartre's philosophy offers something radical. Instead of running from anxiety, we should use it as a guide. If something makes you anxious, it often means that it matters, that it is pushing you toward growth, that it is revealing a truth about yourself that you have been avoiding. Now ask yourself, what is your anxiety trying to tell you? Are you afraid of failure, or are you afraid of what success might demand of you? Are you avoiding change because you truly want stability, or because you are afraid of stepping into your full potential? Are you holding on to an identity that no longer fits you because it is comfortable, or because you are scared of who you might become without it? Anxiety forces us to confront these questions, and the way we answer them determines the course of our lives, because the truth is, you are always choosing. Even when you refuse to make a decision, that is a choice. Even when you let fear dictate your actions, that is a choice. There is no escaping responsibility. The only real question is whether you will choose consciously or unconsciously. And this brings us to the most important realization of all, one that will completely shift the way you see yourself and the world. Because the final truth is still ahead. Anxiety is not a flaw in your existence, it is proof of it. It is a sign that you are not a machine, not a passive observer, not a character in someone else's story. You are a being in motion, a creator of meaning, a force of transformation. And yet so many people spend their lives trying to silence this feeling, afraid of what it reveals. But what if instead of resisting it, you leaned into it? Jean-Paul Sartre believed that the moment we stop running from our anxiety is the moment we step into true freedom. Because anxiety is not just fear, it is the weight of possibility pressing down on you. It is the awareness that at any moment you could become something entirely new. This is the ultimate realization. You are not a fixed being. You are not defined by your past, by your mistakes, by your fears. At any given moment you have the power to rewrite your story. But here is where most people hesitate, because while this truth is liberating, it is also terrifying. It means there are no excuses. It means that the life you are living right now is the one you have chosen, whether consciously or unconsciously. And if you are not satisfied with it, the only person who can change it is you. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to hand you purpose or meaning. That is your responsibility. And this is where Sartre's philosophy becomes more than just theory. This is where it becomes a challenge. Because the question is not, can you change? The question is, will you? It is easy to say that the world is unfair, that society is limiting, that circumstances are too difficult. And while these things may be true, they do not remove your freedom, because even in the worst conditions, you still have a choice. History is filled with people who transformed their lives despite overwhelming obstacles. Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust, found meaning even in a concentration camp. Nelson Mandela, after decades of imprisonment, emerged without hatred, choosing to lead with wisdom instead of revenge. These individuals faced realities far harsher than most of us will ever know, and yet they proved that even in suffering, even in darkness, we are still responsible for our own existence. So what does this mean for you? It means that every time you feel anxiety, you are being given a choice. Will you run or will you face it? Will you numb yourself with distractions or will you listen to what it is trying to tell you? Because here is the secret that so many never realize. The thing you fear most is often the thing you must do. The thing that makes you anxious is often the thing that will set you free. Maybe you have been waiting for permission to take a risk, to start something new, to walk away from something that no longer serves you. Maybe you have been telling yourself that you are not ready, that you need more time, more certainty, more validation. But here is the truth. No one is ever ready. Growth does not happen when you feel safe. Change does not wait until you are comfortable. The moment will never feel perfect, and that is exactly why you must act anyway. Sartre believed that our freedom is both a burden and a gift. It is what makes life terrifying, but it is also what makes life meaningful. You are not here to follow a script. You are not here to live a life that someone else has planned for you. You are here to create. And yes, this means that sometimes you will make mistakes, sometimes you will fail. Sometimes you will take a step forward only to fall back again. But even failure is a choice. Even suffering can become a source of strength, if you decide to let it. Because at the end of it all, the real question is not whether you are anxious. The real question is, what will you do with it? Will you let it paralyze you? Or will you let it push you forward? Because the truth is, you are already free. The only thing left is for you to decide what that freedom means. So now, the choice is yours. Thanks for looking.